Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hybrid Healing Hour. I'm excited to have a returning guest, Lance Schuttler, who is the owner and CEO of Ascent Nutrition. Welcome back, Lance.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Brian.
And I'm so excited to have you back because we're going to talk about immunity boosters today. And, we're big on the immune system in our office. We carry multiple different supplements. And, I feel with I guess I'm going to just dive right into it. With people having this super ultra processed diet lately, the Americanized diet, a lot of people's immune system has completely gone down. And I think, a lot of our podcasts have touched on how diet is, food is medicine and you can heal your body naturally. But I want to talk about some of these supplements or whatnot here that you offer through Ascent. So go ahead and tell our audience a little bit today about how you got into this line.
Yeah, so I studied health science in college, and I went to the University of Iowa, graduated from there. And kind of when I was in school, I was learning a lot about nutraceuticals, diet, nutrition from the schooling side of things, more so on like nutrition and diet. But as you know, like we're only taught so much in school. So I was learning a lot of things outside of school from books, lectures, online, things like that, and self-experimentation. After graduating, because I was really into the health and wellness side of things, shortly after that, started working in the nutraceutical field in different capacities. So I've worked for different companies as a rep. I've worked on the retail side of things for companies, and I've worked behind the scenes for companies, helping with different parts of the operation. So I was able to get a good, well-rounded view of what's going on in the nutraceutical world and health and wellness in general, and just kind of trying to live this lifestyle and be aware of things going on. I've just stayed up to date with things. And when I got that knowledge and started putting things together, it was around 2018, 2019, I started to see, okay, I can create my own company if I want. I know that I can, but it has to be very different from all these other ones because like there's so many products out there. How does someone make up their mind? So it has to be different in the way that we source, the way that we talk about them, the testing we're doing, how we're growing it, the processing, all those sorts of things. So that kind of led me down that path of learning all these different aspects of it and trying to create something that actually is different and not just saying, hey, it's different, but actually being different and being beneficial. So it was a process, and I kind of began it in 2018, 2019, behind the scenes, learning things, putting business stuff together, ideas, learning, marketing, all that. And then in August of 2020, created Ascent Nutrition. And it stemmed from one of our products, the pine pollen tincture. That was the flagship, still kind of is in some ways. But that's where things began in 2020 for Ascent Nutrition.
Wow. Great. So why don't we just go ahead and talk about that? Are you talking about the pine needle, the dropper that you guys have?
Okay. So,
or is that different?
Yeah, there's two different ones, but I can talk about both of them. So the pine pollen, that was the one that we launched the company with. And pine pollen, it is what it sounds like. It's the pollen from pine trees. It's certain species of pines. Ponderosa and lodgepole is what we use. And kind of how I got into that is because I was looking for nature's best source / cleanest source of DHEA. I was learning a lot about DHEA for the brain and happiness, motivation, also for exercise and just overall health and wellness. They call it the happiness hormone, the longevity hormone. There's all sorts of names for it. And it's very well tolerated by people. It works. It's a great compound. We need it. And it's one of those master hormones for both men and women. Mm-hmm. So when I learned that pine pollen was actually a great source of DHEA and other brassinosteroids or phytohormones, I learned that, okay, pine pollen was that source, one of the best sources of it. And okay, how do I get my hands on that? Because I had never even heard of it other than just, what we see, but not actually taking it as a food.
Were there any products out already when you started this?
There were, and I used a couple of them. And then that kind of led me down the path of, again, well, what's the best source? What's the best way to extract? What's the best way to hold it? Should it be glycerin or alcohol or both? All the different things. Are there different species that we should use? All sorts of things kind of along those lines. And then was able to find where we could create our own product. And we could do it in a way that was very different. The way that we extract is different. We're not cracking open the cell wall. There's a lot of information out there, of course, on cracked cell wall pine pollen and other cracked cell walls of like chlorella, spirulina, other nutrients. In general, that's very good. Like we want to crack those cell walls so we can get the nutrients. In pine pollen, that's true too, but some of those compounds then actually become exposed to oxygen and get oxidized. And one just like visual test that we have done, we've done a lot of very thorough genetic testing too, and I'll get into that. But one just basic visual test, and we've put this on our website. We've got an image of pine pollen that will come from China, that's cracked cell wall, and pine pollen that we're harvesting up in Canada, and we're keeping it raw and alive and not cracking the cell wall. And you can visually tell the difference instantly. What is the stuff of these two that you would want to put in your body? Is it the golden yellow, vibrant looking alive substance? Or is it this darkish, brownish, like palish looking kind of like, it's been sitting there for a little while, oxidized pine pollen? Most companies are using the cracked cell wall, and they will spin their whole marketing around that. It needs to be cracked cell wall because you're going to get more nutrients, this and that and that. Yes, some, but you're actually mostly just getting more carbohydrates. And we aren't taking pine pollen to get more carbs because there's 1 or 2 grams of carbs in a scoop of it. And as we create a tincture, there's not even a gram of finished material in there. So we're not looking for carbs from pine pollen. That's the point. We're looking for the brassinosteroids, the DHEA, the SOD, the glutathione, all these different amino acids. There's 200 plus different nutrients in pine pollen in these species that we use that can benefit human physiology. Vitamins, minerals, amino acids, antioxidants like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, SOD. Glutathione and SOD are very great detoxificants and super beneficial, especially for right now, respiratory-wise, lung-wise. You want to get heavy metals out. SOD and glutathione, fantastic.
Absolutely. And glutathione's like the master antioxidant as well. Yeah, for immune system.
Yep.
Wow.
And SOD, it's one of those compounds where it's like the more SOD you have, it's like a rate limiting compound where if you have more SOD on a cellular level, there's going to be less free radical damage because the superoxide dismutase is scavenging that free radical or that non-beneficial radical that causes damage to cells and DNA. But we know there's always free radical damage happening. We take a breath in, we need the oxygen, but then there's that process where the body has to utilize it and certain things happen. So
there's always a waste. Put it that way, like a waste product, essentially.
And so if you have more SOD in your body, there's less free radical damage, and specifically superoxide radical damage, because the superoxide is super damaging to the DNA in particular, and it speeds up that aging process. So this is part of why they say the pine pollen from ancient Chinese medicine It's a longevity tonic. It's an adaptogen. It builds chi or builds energy because it's preserving life, and it's making it so the cells on the cellular level are not being damaged as quickly by just the regular living process.
Great. And then how is that related within the pine needle?
So the pine pollen, that's from ponderosa and lodgepole pine, all those different compounds in there, very beneficial for all sorts of things that we've talked about. The pine needle, that is from a different species of pine. It's from the eastern white pines, Pinus strobus. This is what, when people say pine needle tea, that's typically what people are talking about, the eastern white pines. We know the indigenous have used this for a very long time. It's in old, medicine books, like folk medicine books, all sorts of things, alternative healing books. It's just commonly known. People have heard about pine needle tea. Not everyone, but if you say it, people at least have heard of pine needles or using it for tea of some sort. So we had that awareness and knowledge, and then in 2021, when all sorts of things started happening in the world, a lot of people became very aware of needing to detox and needing to cleanse the blood and needing to have stronger immune system and respiratory health because of everything that has been going on. So there was information that came out now it's been 4 years, in the spring of 2021. Some scientists were kind of reviving pine needle tea and the information around it. And so we said, okay, well, we can create a product, or we're going to try to, of pine needle tea, but we don't want to just harvest the pine needles and just sell a bag of tea, because people aren't going to really consume that long term and not going to be consistent with it, and thus people aren't going to get the benefits. We're putting these things out because we want people taking them, not just from the business angle, but really like from the aspect of, we want people feeling better. Like, that's why I got into all this, to just try to help people feel better, help myself feel better. First and foremost, that's how I got into it. And then once I started feeling better and more optimized, okay, I want to take this and help other people, because we don't need to be tied to all these pharmaceuticals that are just being thrown at us. Like, we're not even, thankfully things are changing, but even 10 years ago, the awareness of natural medicine was so much lower than it is right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So wild harvesting the eastern white pines up in Canada, we do it with respect to the land. We do it in a regenerative sort of way, where we know where we're harvesting. We know we're only doing it from trees that are falling down, freshly fallen down branches. So we're not going out and cutting down trees. We're not chainsawing trees. It's very much literally hand harvesting. I know the people that are going out and doing this. They're friends, and they believe in what we're doing. And they're literally putting in the physical work to go out and harvest. And we're using like basically horse and buggy, not olden day horse and buggy, but like farm horses.
Sure.
And a trailer that we're then able to do it. And all of it's clean. We take it then to a facility to clean all of it in all the best ways. We test it before and after, all the stuff. So it's not just like we're putting this together in a kitchen. It's being done with all the certifications and all of that. But it's coming from nature, and that's the point. Like, it's direct from nature straight to the facility to make that finished product of the pine needle tea extract or pine needle extract. And so what it is, it's the Shikimic Acid, or Shikimic Acid is one of the main compounds in the eastern white pines. And this is why this information became viral and went viral 4 years ago and is still like in people's awareness today. Part of it is the Shikimic Acid. So if you look on PubMed, Shikimic Acid, that's what Tamiflu, or one of the main constituents in Tamiflu. And
I did not know that.
No.
So Shikimic Acid, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, important obviously for all the stuff that's been going on and happening. And like in particular, It's also antithrombogenic and antiplatelet forming. So it helps to, or it can help to support healthy blood flow, or you could say like loosely, it's like it could potentially unstick sticky blood. And we know for all sorts of reasons that people, especially over the past 4 years, there's been a lot of clotting, more clotting than normal, more cardiovascular events, more strokes, all sorts of things. There's lots of different reasons behind that. We won't go into all of it, but there's a lot of poisons that have been intentionally put on us, or put into the water, put into the food, the air, and all of those things accumulate and, you know, can eventually lead to more clotting and just decreased blood flow. So Shikimic Acid helps to support healthy blood flow and support the immune system, support respiratory health and brain health.
And I'm hearing cardiovascular health. Like, this is great.
Yes. And Shikimic Acid also helps to repair the myelin sheath, you know, the fatty substance that coats neurons. It's like the insulation for neurons. It helps that. And so we've got people leaving reviews taking the pine needle extract that are feeling brain health benefits and more mental clarity. And that's definitely one of the intentions for it, but it's not like the prior or the primary one. But people feel it, and it makes sense because if it's helping the myelin sheath, the neurons are communicating more efficiently, better, you're feeling happier, feel sharper, all of it just works together.
Now, this is a dropper, so do you drop that into your mouth or into a drink? What do you suggest?
Either way. That one, it's fine. You can drink it in a juice or liquid, and your body will still absorb it just fine if you take it that way. There's no alcohol in that one because we want people taking it. We know the severity of the situation that we've all been impacted with over the past, handful of years. And the whole point of us creating that was just to try to get it out to the masses and help people. Clean the blood, help people with their immune and respiratory health, help people stay healthy.
Well, we know detoxifying is a big part of your immune system as well. If you're not detoxifying, you're not able to clear out the bad gunk. And so this sounds like it does a little bit of everything.
How many drops do you recommend people take?
30 drops, so 1 ml, one serving.
Which is a dropper, one dropper full. Yep.
Yeah. And we hold it in organic vegetable glycerin to give it a good taste. There's small amounts of benefits and nutrients in the organic vegetable glycerin just by itself, but wanted to have it to where it tastes good. And people can apply it topically too.
Okay.
On
their wrists.
Very good for like wounds or like skin issues going on, because the Shikimic Acid, very beneficial for topical application too.
Great.
But the pine pollen tincture, kind of going back to that, we hold that one in alcohol, and you do want that one out in alcohol because the DHEA and the other brass nose steroids or phytohormones, if you just, let's say, eat the pine pollen or you drink it in a juice or smoothie, you'll get many of those nutrients, but those nutrients specifically will get broken down and it will not cross the blood-brain. It won't get into the circulatory system, and then it won't cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate those effects. So this is why, and you guys know this, and most people listening know this too, that some tinctures are better in alcohol, so it does get into the bloodstream, so it can cross the blood-brain barrier. Pine pollen tincture, you definitely want that. You want to hold it underneath the tongue. There is alcohol in it, so it does have a little sting, but that's fine. You want that. You want those compounds getting into
the system.
Perfect. Exactly.
So tell me about another one, Fulvic. I've heard this around, and then that's another reason why I wanted to have you on, because you seem so knowledgeable about this.
Yeah, so the Fulvic Acid and Humic Acid, they're different compounds, but they're similar. So Fulvic Acid is a compound that's naturally held within the structure of Humic Acid, though they can be isolated. Kind of stepping back a little bit, where and how I learned about the humic and fulvic acid. This was back in 2012. I was, kind of getting deep into all this stuff as we talked about, and learned about humic and fulvic acid and more of the detoxing effects and the energy enhancing effects because of the amount of electrons that it has. But what I learned, so there's so much about it, but what I learned at the beginning was humic and fulvic can be a treatment, specifically fulvic, can be a treatment or part of a treatment program for cancer. Now, I'm not saying our products are doing that. We don't say that it's going to do that, but there's plenty of doctors out there who are using this. One of the main ones, or who's like the guy who's been one of the foremost experts on it, is Dr. Daniel Newsom. He's a naturopath, and he's got other titles as well. And he was on a docuseries about a decade ago called The Truth About Cancer. And there's all sorts of practitioners and doctors talk about treatments. And he was talking about fulvic acid and the benefits he's been having with patients. He's said that that's his base of any protocol, even if it's not cancer, if it's Lyme or this or that, fulvic. The reason is because it's so fundamental in terms of its antioxidant capacity and what it does to neutralize toxins, bind to heavy metals. It can neutralize some radioactive material, like literally it will neutralize it because of its antioxidant levels or its electron levels. So one fulvic acid molecule has got, and this is according to Daniel Newsom, 14 tetratrillion electrons that it can donate or receive. So it's a bidirectional antioxidant that is scavenging free radicals and neutralizing those effects. So, we know with cancer, there's a lot of different things to it, and I don't want to get into all of that, but the fulvic can definitely help just from the basic premise of neutralizing a lot of the free radicals that are being created, whether it's just from the cancer itself or a chemotherapy treatment or this or that. He's been having a lot of success with it, very fundamental with that.
I will interrupt too and just say, free radicals are formed every day from just chronic diseases that we have, right? And the toxins that cause cell turnover in our body and whatnot.
Yep, exactly.
Do the fulvic and humic work synergistically, or are they working independently?
Synergistically, because the fulvic, it's a smaller molecule, and that one can cross the blood-brain barrier. The humic cannot. The humic is more for gut health, and it acts as a prebiotic. But the fulvic, it's a compound or molecule within the humic that will cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay. And so it's synergistic together. It's found naturally together in nature. And what humic and fulvic actually is the end result of decomposed organic matter and material in the soil. And this is done over millions of years. So what happens is all the organic compounds, trees, leaves, twigs, branches, bugs, all that's decomposed over these years and then transformed into, it's like nature's alchemical process to never let anything go to waste. It's always transformed. And that ends up being where the humic and fulvic has a bunch of different minerals and some vitamins and that enormous electrolyte or antioxidant potential with all those electrons that it can donate or receive. So it's a extremely long process done in nature that we don't have to do anything for. We just have to go and just it's not harvesting it. You have to more like collect it and get it out there. But it also stimulates plant growth. There's so many studies out there on plants. If you give humic and fulvic, because it should be in the soil, but we know it's been stripped away due to the chemical farming and all of that. And it still is there in small amounts. It just depends where and how much. But it should be in our food. It's not in there to the levels that it should be today. Hence, the reason to add it in or supplement with it is very beneficial. So what it does is a lot of different things. It'll shuttle nutrients in. The Fulvic can bind to these minerals and nutritional compounds, literally attach itself and shuttle it into cells. And then at the same time, it can pull out waste. So Daniel Newsom, he's given this good analogy, and I just reuse it because it's perfect. It's the garbage man and the mailman at the same time. It's bringing the mail, bringing the nutrients, and it's taking out the waste as the garbage man. Extremely efficient. They've likened it to like a little mini battery charger because of those electrons. It's like it is like a little battery where it's giving a little trickle charge of voltage to the mitochondria so that it can keep doing what it's doing. So it's feeding that electron transport chain because it's got all those different electrons in it, 14 tetratrillion. So it is a little mini battery for the cells. It's doing all these different things. It's foundational, and yet almost no one knows about it.
How do people take these products?
So we've created a capsule form of it, of the powder, of the Humic and Fulvic together, and you just take a capsule. The reason for that is because I've tried almost all of the Humic and Fulvics out there. There's not that many companies, but it's grown over the years for sure. Some are better than others in terms of taste and all like things like that. But the main reason is because the liquid, if you take that internally, the minerals can sometimes start building up and caking on the back of your teeth or like in your teeth. And if you do it for a few days, you can definitely tell. So I did that, gave it break, tried doing it again with other products, and like it just always would keep happening. And that's something that I learned later on. Like you just want to avoid that if you can. So didn't want to do a liquid form because just knew that it wouldn't, people would take it a little bit, but it wouldn't ultimately be helping. It would just sit there. So wanted to do the capsule form of it so that people could easily take it. And if they want, they can break open the capsule and use it as a powder or a paste. So there's a lot of functional uses to it as well. So just heard this from two parents of a 16-year-old girl. She's been dealing with acne, not like abnormal acne, just, teenager acne, and just wanting to deal with that. And so I told her parents, try the Humic and Fulvic, take it internally, and then break open the capsule, take the powder and kind of use either water or some sort of cleanser and turn it into a paste and apply it topically in the areas you want to address. And I spoke with them 1 week later. It wasn't even over 7 days. It was like 6 days later. And her parents told me, hey, like this is crazy, but it's like 90% gone.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So
That's much better than taking Accutane, which
Yeah,
can destroy you.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And we had another lady have similar results kind of with that. So this was, I think, the most profound like anecdotal report that we've gotten back. We've got a lot of great ones on that. I mean, all of them really, but the Humic and Fulvic, definitely. A lady, she's probably, I don't know, 50s or 60s, and we didn't ask any details prior. She just openly shared all this with us, and it's a review on her website, so you can see it. She wasn't doing anything different. She had psoriasis for 30 years. She had swelling in her hands, painful joints, and just was trying to just deal with it. And prior to taking that product, she took a magnet and stuck it to her chest right here, and then her torso, and the magnet stuck. And like we all have got heavy metals in us, so it wasn't like that uncommon, but I think she was wanting to look at something more specifically if she had an accumulation of them in certain spots. We didn't ask her for any of that stuff, but she did that. It stuck. She took one bottle of this, so there's 60 capsules in it, so maybe it took her 40, 50, 60 days. And she said after the bottle, the psoriasis, and this was probably during the process, but it started drying up and flaking off, and she said it completely went away, like in bold caps, completely went away. She said the swelling in her joints in her hands, no pain, gone. And then she said she did the magnet test again at the end. It didn't stick. So we know definitely that is binding to heavy metals and pulling it out. And like it's not abstract or anything crazy, because you just go on PubMed and look up fulvic acid and you can tell it is a definite heavy metal chelator, and it will just bind just through basic chemistry. It will bind to heavy metals.
And so with it being a heavy metal chelator, basically, like I've done heavy metal detox myself, which I'm a big fan of this product for. I want to do this product next. Do you need to avoid taking this capsule with other like pharmaceuticals or food? Like, because I know, even when you do charcoal binders, right, you want to take that outside of like an hour or 2 hours after eating or taking any medications, because it can also bind with good stuff. It doesn't know just to bind with the bad stuff.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's different parts to it. So for the pharmaceutical side of things, you definitely want to take it away from the fulvic and humic, and ideally working with a practitioner who is like dialed in on that, because if you take it with a pharmaceutical, let's say an antidepressant, because of what we talked about, it will bind to these things and it will carry them into cells. It will actually potentize that pharmaceutical, and it can be like detrimental to someone depending on what they're taking, their status, and all sorts of things. And there's pharmacists and doctors who know that, and they will tell people, hey, stay away, and practitioners like who are knowledgeable like you guys, like stay away from taking this with a pharmaceutical, because it will potentize it. And that's like, again, just accumulated knowledge and science that we've learned over the years. But with food, it's fine to take it with food, because again, the fulvic is shuttling nutrients into cells, and it's the
mailman.
It's got that innate intelligence within it to seek out nutrients and help to bring them into cells. And even from a soil science perspective, this is very well known. And kind of going along that, there's a quote that kind of puts all of this together from the soil scientist, William Jackson. And he's written a book on fulvic and humic that's literally this thick. And it's like, you can't even find it these days. I think on Amazon, it might not even exist anymore. But,
wow.
I'm sure it's out there in some way. But he has a quote that essentially says, if how does it begin? If the Creator wanted to show us, if the Creator wanted to solve multiple problems at once, and if the Creator wanted to show us how to pull rabbits from a hat, then the Creator did a wonderful job in the design of fulvic acid. It's nature's miracle molecule. And just like everything that we've talked about with it, it's bringing nutrients in, it's chelating waste out, it's binding heavy metals, it's neutralizing some radioactive substances, it's neutralizing some pesticides.
Great.
Crazy stuff.
Well, I mean, it sounds like an overall, like you said, a miracle nutrient.
Let's talk about another supplement you have, the sea moss.
Yeah. So you guys know, a lot of people listening know too, Dr. Sebi. He was the doctor who really kind of made sea moss popular back over the past couple decades, and especially 10, 12 years ago he was in the news and in the awareness a lot. He was treating people with cancer, Lyme, autoimmune, all sorts of diseases and conditions, I believe down in Honduras. He had a clinic down there treating celebrities and very well-known people, and he was not popular amongst, the FDA and some of these agencies because of what he was doing. And he was very vocal about it. And as you guys know, they don't some of these agencies don't want people screaming from the rooftops saying, hey, we found something that works.
Right. Something natural.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So he was doing that, being very vocal, helping a lot of people. He even took on the FDA in multiple cases, won them multiple times, bringing in patients and, just going through that process. I think maybe 7 years ago, he died in prison. His family believes that he was poisoned in there. Who knows? That's
Right.
it is what it is. But he definitely was,
Sounds like a
something
leader.
helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of this. So what are all the benefits that CMOS does?
Yeah. So many vitamins, many minerals, like 102 minerals.
That's right. I've always thought of it as more of like a mineral replacement in a sense, because I feel here we are drinking tons of water, but we're filtering our water because there's still a lot of crap in our water, right? There's toxins in our water. So if we filter it, then we're not getting any of the good minerals in it. So I like to replace, and I thought of CMOS as a great mineral replacement.
Definitely, and especially the iodine content in there. So a lot of people use it for skin health. They'll use it for metabolism. I don't want to say like weight loss, because like it's not. I mean, people will use it for that, but it's not going to be like you're taking.
But we know too, I mean, I get what you're saying. We don't say weight loss, but it helps with metabolism. And since when your body is balanced with all the minerals it needs, and if you're mineral deficient, your body's not functioning properly, you're not metabolizing properly, you're not going to lose weight. So
Yep.
it's like this, it is like this catch-22 in a sense,
Yeah, totally. There's different omegas in there, so small amounts, super micro amounts of the omega-3s, not enough. I mean, definitely you want to take them, and you'll take all of them you can, but it's not enough to be like a physiological like dose. But it's in there, and that's the whole point. Like that is an actual superfood. Like you guys know the word superfood, and I say this on like almost every podcast I do. Like the word superfood is way overused.
It is.
But it's important to say that because people don't know. Like we're just hit with all these marketing pieces. Oh, the blueberry is the new superfood. This food is the new superfood.
Kale was titled the superfood, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, everything out there there's a new superfood every week or month.
Right. And so how do you actually distinguish that? So the CMOS, I mean, actually is, because all the vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, some compounds in there that like you can't get really anywhere else. And even the things that science has not even discovered yet, where we can't even detect some of these things.
Wow.
So that, in my view, is definitely a true superfood. Pine pollen is too, because of those 200 different nutrients. That certainly qualifies for a superfood because it's impacting so many different systems, and there's so many different nutrients in there.
Wow.
Where does your CMOS come from?
We get it from the Caribbean. Yep.
Great. And so I'm assuming this helps with the with your immune system just by aligning everything else, and with like you said, a little bit of the iodine in there can help with detoxification, thyroid function, which in turn can also help with immune function, like everything.
Yep. Selenium, all the good nutrients and minerals.
Wonderful. And then there's one more I wanted to touch on today, and that's the Agarikon. So please, I never even heard of this one until I met you.
I agree.
Yes.
So,
inform us.
So how I learned about Agarikon was through a podcast that Paul Stamets did with Joe Rogan back in 2017. Paul Stamets, of course, the most well-known and arguably the most respected mycologist out there. He's done so many great things. His company, Host Defense, he's got great products. I've learned so much just listening to him on podcasts and shows and learning about what they're doing as a company. And when he was on Joe Rogan in 2017, some people might remember this if they hear it. He was talking about, a 3-hour podcast, so they're talking about a lot of different things, but they got into Agarikon. And I'll do my best to share the shortened, condensed version of it. But what happened was after 9/11, there was a study being put together by the Department of Defense, NIH, NIAID, and it was called Biodefense BioShield. And this is when the whole anthrax thing was going on, and 9/11 had just happened. So the government and military, at least on the surface level, their talk was, we want to find antidotes or different compounds that could be an antidote to biological weapons, or just like these viruses, bacteria, things like that. So they put this program together. Paul had shared on that podcast that there was something like 200,000 samples submitted in this study, some pharmaceuticals, some like herbs, some mushrooms, all sorts of different things. He submitted a bunch of different strains and species of mushrooms and sent it off. They did the testing. Paul Stamets gets back in the mail the testing results from what he submitted, and maybe everything else. But the point was, he got the results on the Agarikon, and the Agarikon was literally off the charts, way out of the norm in terms of its antiviral and antibacterial levels against whatever they were testing against. I think they were testing against a bunch of different viruses and bacteria. And it was way different than anything else. So he was super excited, and he called his contact at the government there and was like, "Hey, this is awesome. Great news. Like, I got the results." And the guy back was like, "You weren't supposed to get that. Like, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, like, they just sent this to me. Like, I've got it. Like, so, what can we do?" And then he continued with the story, something like very shortly after that, maybe a day or two, very quickly. Paul wasn't at his business, but a Black Hawk helicopter came and swarmed and hovered over one of his compounds there, and he got a call from his employees saying, "Hey, there's a helicopter like swarming us right now. Is there something going on we should know about?" He's like, "Oh, okay, I think I know what's going on." He said, "Take the samples, disperse, and scatter." And so they did that. They took samples and they all scattered from the facility. Nothing bad ended up happening, thankfully. Government certainly just checking, who is this guy? Does he have an antidote to a biological weapon? Is he making biological weapons?
All he had was mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. So, then they kind of got sorted out, just miscommunication or whatever. I think it definitely, divine intervention for sure, because we probably wouldn't even know about this stuff if he wouldn't have gotten sent that, because then he was able to make it public. They then went into more research on extracting some of those antivirals from it. I think they've created some patents around that stuff, not patenting the mushroom Agarikon. But they learned a lot. They found it was anti-tuberculosis, antiviral, anti-HPV, antiviral against a lot of different things, anti-HIV, anti-HPV.
Does it help against herpes or simplex?
Yes, and you can find this all in PubMed. And again, I'm not saying our products are treating, curing, or doing anything like that.
Right.
But you can easily find this as information online. And do with it what you want. But yes, it's known to be active in those ways, very strong. The indigenous have used it in the Pacific Northwest for a long time. They had a great respect for it physically, of course, and they had a spiritual connection to it, where they believed it would help protect them in the afterlife from evil spirits or demons or whatever. And that's more just the mythological aspects to it. But if they believe that, that's fine and great. And certainly there's a mystical component to it, because that fruiting body, the Agarikon, is the longest living known fruiting body mushroom that they've found so far. I believe that's what Paul has shared publicly. These conchs of these mushrooms will grow 70, 50, 60, 70 years old out in the old growth forest and just sit there. And, a lot of these mushrooms, like lion's mane, they're not growing 70 years. They'll just, turn over. So Agarikon, the whole point is, like, it does have a lot of that innate intelligence, not just physically from the physical world around us, but there's definitely, I think, something cosmic or spiritual to it that goes beyond this physical realm. You know, something that's living that long.
Right.
As a mushroom compared to other mushrooms that don't live that long, it's definitely very different.
Wow. No, I mean, I know that I've learned from you on like how this can support the immune system and many other things. I mean, there's a healthy detoxification. We are big fans of mushrooms in general in our practice. We've been using Paul's products, My Community.
For immunity. And
For immunity.
Patients swear by it.
Yes.
Yep, so good.
Yeah. And I think that has 20 different strains. I would have to go back and look.
The one we use does.
Yeah, the one we use. I mean, they have many, many different products, but I definitely like the idea of being able to just simply add this to like my coffee in the morning again, right?
Yep.
Like you could add this with the lion's mane and you're sharp and with it and you're protecting your immune system. This would be great.
Definitely.
Yep.
And people will use it most commonly for that immune and respiratory health. So if people have got immune or respiratory things going on, especially respiratory, take Agarikon. It's so beneficial for us. Like there's so much more we could even go into. It's a very strong, it elicits a strong, healthy, normal inflammatory response, aka it's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Paul Stamets even said that, and he's written an article about this and he said it publicly too, that in his view, so Agarikon grows in the old growth forest in the Pacific Northwest. So he's talking about Agarikon and the forest in general, just all the medicines that are in there. But he's saying, as a matter of national defense, it is, and it should be, like top priority or one of the top priorities to save the old growth forest and make sure it's not, cut down and like it's not being destroyed because of all the different medicinal compounds in there, and especially the mushrooms as antivirals, antibacterials, things like that. So, it's a huge statement, and I fully support it because, yeah, it is a matter of national defense. If we as a population aren't healthy, we are susceptible to being completely taken over.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, thank you again for another informative session with you. I love having you on. Can you tell our audience again how they can find you?
Yes. Go ascentnutrition.com is the website. We're on all the socials under Go Ascent Nutrition or Ascent Nutrition. I'm on socials as well. Lance Schuttler, lanceschuttler.com is my website. We'll answer any questions. Happy to help people. Even if we don't have the product, we'll tell people, okay, this company's got the best one of what you're looking for, because that's what I want done. If I'm looking for something, if they don't actually have what I've got, I want to be told accurate and truthful information. So that's what we do. We not ever trying to like sell something to someone just because. Only if they're seeking it out and we actually have what they're looking for.
You actually have their best interest.
100%.
Which is hard to find.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Lance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Deanna.
The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended for the purposes of diagnosing, curing, treating, or preventing any disease. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. Before using any products or services referenced on this podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, carefully read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information found or received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or should you have any healthcare questions, please promptly call or see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Brian Marias, Deanna Weilbacher, and Hybrid Medical Solution, do not claim responsibility for any adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for any statements made by the guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referenced.
If you would like to submit any questions or if you have any topics you would be interested in hearing about on future episodes, please contact us through our website, www.hybridmedicalsolution.com. That is solution with no S at the end. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, all under Hybrid Medical Solution.